Well, hello, all you shiny happy people. 'Tis the Reverend. Who would have thunk it? Pretty much everybody by now. So I'm here to continue with the next part of my short story collection titled Haunted Spaghetti, because creepypasta sounds stupid. It's a beautiful thing. Also, no guitar for 2 weeks. I just got shots in both of my wrists for the second time. Art is pain, obviously, when you hit a certain age. And ouch. Let me tell you, that needle is long. Like, frightening long. Anyway. Last time I read the short story, 1976. This one is actually going to have a couple of poems in it, because I snuck a couple of poems between the short stories in this collection. Anyway, this one is called Already Gone. Screenhead bowed, storytelling fingers stretched, words whispered into deafness, no longer interested, the message of generations, crying eyes of youth, hopeless, thoughtless, careless, all sales are final. Pipe dreams and nightmares, culminating to the ultimate sunset. Darkness, cold and eternal. No hope of resurrection. Humanity's last hope. Lies invented by wealth, disguised dollar signs, cosplay as solutions. Dead knew nothing. Poor knew even less. Sighing fathers tithing the demonic, boiling waves journey, on the verge of cresting, landfall atop future's glass, washed to sea by time, and forgotten by we, the sullied allies. Sky fires roasting flesh, non-existent shelter, finality, stacked bodies scorched, oven of the angel's delight, overdone yet underappreciated, solving mayhem on the verge, best we could in the moment, tools provided by charity, paid with bank vault promises, and tomorrow's crude, robbing, harvesting humanity to please the logistical agenda of the next species, comprehending missteps, heeding unwritten warnings of our demise, owning deeds from shadows, yet avoiding confession. Nature's time rejuvenates, bleeding death upon us all in forms of drought and despair, tasting dust upon our tongues. As our last wishes miserably fail, the goddess knows all, and she's pissed. Next is another poem. This one is called Bad News. You never would have guessed that I arranged all these in alphabetical order. Let me take a sip of tea here. Hope it's not too crazy hot. It's National Coffee Day, by the way. I'm having tea. Rebel. Okay. Bad news. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but modern poetry is only an articulate paragraph. The writer just hits the enter key after every third word, making most classic, legendary poets roll over in their fucking graves. Enough said. Next is another poem. This one is called But I Signed. Rebelled against words, victored choices, bridge slack and slow, enemies mirrored, the vicious cycle, televised travesty, vows insulted, frantically, purposely, spit upon from the high chair, or the high chair, red dawn, dawned red, redrawn, sinister blood needs spilling, appease the planet, comfort the mother, nursed back to health in our absence. The countdown's begun, byproduct to the waste pail, yesterday's discarded experiment, back to the drawing board. Thoughts? Yes. You? And now, For the main event, this is my short story titled Fluffy. This originally appeared, I don't edit this, by the way, in the Texas Author Con anthology Headblown. And the guy who narrated the audiobook version of that did a wonderful job. If you would like to hear that one, I would recommend purchasing that book. That's a very good collection. It's available on Amazon still, along with the newest one that came out this last year. What was it called? Tumblebleed. Yeah, I've got a Old West short story in that one. That's a really good one, too. The Texas Author and Reader Con is no more. It is now Texas Horror Lit Fest. So, roll with the changes. Anyway, here's Fluffy. One more sip of tea. I'm sorry. It's a great temperature, by the way. All right. Day 1. And down I go. I'm not quite sure what happened, but I know it came suddenly. I swear I was feeling just fine all day long. No hints of anything bad on the horizon, physically or mentally. This is the absolute worst timing imaginable. But is there any such thing as a better time to die? It's doubtful. No, I'm not quite dead. I'd snicker at that Monty Python reference if I wasn't completely paralyzed from head to toe. I can still see what's directly in front of me, and my ears are working as far as I can tell, but I can't get anything to move. Even wrinkling my nose is out of the question. I know because I've been trying to do something simple along those lines for nearly an hour. It almost feels like that scene in Kill Bill when the main character is in the back seat of the pussy wagon truck trying to convince her toe to wiggle, or something like that. It's been so long since I've seen that damn movie. I can't remember if she's trying to wiggle her toe or her foot. But I do know she stole a dude's truck. It had pussy wagon written on the tailgate or back glass. No, I don't recall what Uma Thurman was doing with her feet, but I'll never forget what was written on that truck. I never saw anyone replicate that on their own vehicle, and can't help but feel it's a missed opportunity. People have Jurassic Park Jeeps and Back to the Future DeLoreans, but no pussy wagons. It's a strange world. I got a text earlier today from a girl I'd been wanting to hook up with since graduating college. Granted, she didn't attend college, but she worked at the pizza joint across the street from my dorm room. What would make anyone think I'd hang out with a chick who was smarter than me? That would just be plain stupid on my part. There are certain aspects of a relationship in which I like to be totally in control. Some brainiac would never let me do anything like that and dump me quicker than a Taco Bell malt liquor concoction brewing overnight in a man's gut. Quickly, I mean. I know it's a difficult analogy to understand, but it's what I went with. You'd shit yourself with a quickness too, meaning last night's tacos and Colt 45 would exit your ass with terminal velocity. I'm getting off track here. Thank you, phone. No one likes you. I'd been up most of the night bootlegging the newest Blumhouse horror film, and I didn't recall taking a shower the day before. The last thing I wanted to do was offend this little lady with wafting clouds of famunda, a.k.a. the reeking smell which originates famunda my balls, and send her packing prematurely. Not that I really care too much about this one girl, but she has friends, and girls talk. They couldn't hold on to a secret if it was tied to their twat with deep-sea fishing line. I'm sure there's a technical term for something so strong, but I'm not a fisherman. Yes, Google is also free and in my pocket, but I'm in a bit of a pickle here. Like I was saying, I got out of the shower, trimmed up the hedges around Little Mister, that's what I call my dick if you must know, and prepared for a night of sweat-soaked chafing with the pizza lady. I'm sure she has a name, but it slips my mind at the moment. Much more important shit to be dwelling on right now, if you ask me. Damn, I really hate to miss out on this. I bet she smells like burned cheese and pepperoni, top to bottom, in and out. That may sound disgusting to some, but to me, that's childhood wrapped up in a goddamn nutshell. Dark dining rooms, faux Coke Tiffany-style lamp shades, fresh baked dough, and the faint sound of arcade games coming from a tiny room in the corner where all the pedos can catch a glimpse of little Jimmy. Oh, the memories they dwell upon of me shaking my ass from side to side because I'd rather finish my last life on Pac-Man instead of taking the world's most desperate piss. Yeah, I always knew they were watching me, so I'd give 'em a little extra wiggle as a parting gift. Again, I'm rambling. This is what a creative mind and a 2 decades too late sociopath diagnosis will do to a man's psyche. I kind of like it, really. Living inside my own head is much more pleasant than the life most can afford. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So I stepped out of the scalding shower and onto the frigid floor of my bedroom when a sudden unexpected chill shot up from my foot to forehead. I slumped helplessly like a corpse sunk into the deepest, darkest depths of the family pond. Don't ask me how I know intricate details of such things, just that I can imagine that's what it would have been like if I accidentally killed someone and paid a speed freak drifter to tie the chick to a rock. Yep, lots of guesswork goes on here, so let's move along in the conversation, shall we? We need to dwell on such nonsense, or no need to dwell on such nonsense. Basically, I'm stark naked, sitting splayed out on the hard wood floor with my back resting against my mother's clothing dresser. I know this because I strategically did so in front of a full-length mirror, and my limp cock looks about as confused and helpless as the rest of me. My body is a useless hunk of meat at this point of the afternoon, but my brain still works properly. Well, from a conversational standpoint anyway. If I was being graded on such a thing, I'd make a goddamn F in the category of page-turn bodily functionality. Before you even think about it, this little potentially embarrassing episode was not brought on by either drug nor alcohol. No chemical blame to be placed whatsoever. It's just that God hates me for some unknown reason. Let's hope the dickhead of deities gets bored soon and gives me my legs back. I've got stuff to do. Day 2. Little tea. Yummy. All right, day 2. I'm fading back from unconsciousness, which I guess is my new predicament's version of sleep. I blacked out after the sun went down yesterday, but I noticed daylight creeping in through the bedroom window. I can't tell how early it is yet, since the pool house in which I live blacks out the sunlight to the main home. What little bit I can see is beginning to get blurry. I can't blink, after all. I heard my cell phone going off in the night, but it stopped completely after about 5 or 6 calls. One of the next things I planned to do after getting out of the shower was plugging it in. Those porn videos can really drain a battery if you're not careful, but it was the only way to get primed up and ready for that date I never showed up to. Lucky her, I guess. I was planning on getting laid one way or the other, although I can't imagine why her pizza-slinging income would say no to my trust fund, but a Boy Scout is always prepared. A couple of stray pills and a few sips of anything, and all it takes to be victorious in this neighborhood. My family gets what they want one way or another. I intended on honoring that tradition. The next thing I planned on doing was kicking the snot out of our cat Fluffy. That little bitch bit the hell out of my ankle before showering as retribution for lifting her off my cargo khakis. I yelled, and the scared little brain-dead freak skidded away down the hall. The housekeeper had just pressed them, and I didn't want a bunch of cat fur all over my clothes for my date. Then again, I don't think she would have given a good goddamn. Like I said yesterday, that whore smells like pizza all the time. For my sake, I think she could put up with a bit of fur on my wardrobe. In hindsight, you can't tell the quality of someone's clothing when it's all crumpled up on the floor. Let me make sure the world isn't burning on my telephone here. No. Vistaprint. Satanic Temple. Okay. The world is not burning. Yet. Today. Where was I? Okay, statistically playing the odds. I don't think the chick would have remembered the state of my clothing anyway. She probably wouldn't even remember Mom's mansion, the swimming pool, the hot tub, or the events of the evening for that matter. I'd planned on drugging her up no matter what, really. Even if she wanted to casually have sex. I just tend to enjoy it more when they're passed out. That way you can do whatever you want. Even the stuff most girls buck at. I mean, how dominating is that? Tagging a girl in her butt without her knowing, sending her waddling home believing she must have taken the world's biggest dump at some point during the date, years of test subjects, and a head full of private little jokes that add the cherry on top to this treat I call a gifted life. Fuck the simpletons. You know, at this exact moment, I'm not even sure if I'm alive anymore. I haven't heard any cars outside or birds chirping with the dawn. Unfortunately for my current state of events, the maid has today off as well as the upcoming weekend. Some bullshit about taking her granddaughter to a doctor's appointment. Fucking moocher tried to convince my mother to give her a paid day off rather than coming here and doing her goddamn job. This is some working class bullshit I'll never understand. If you want to get paid, come to work. Plain and simple. I'm sure there are enough people living in her house to take up the slack and get some kid where she needs to go. That's another thing I've never been able to comprehend. Every time I venture over to the south side of town for weed, you can barely make it down the street without hitting a dozen or so wrecked vehicles. Number one, how many people are living inside of your cracker-box two-bedroom house? Number two, you're never going to fix that trashy Mustang sitting in pieces by the mailbox. Sell it or have it hauled off. Number three, why does everyone have a brutal dog in those neighborhoods, but no secure fencing? I swear it's like I'm trying to buy a skunk bag of seeds and stems from a back alley dealer in Juarez. Pitiful. Anyway, the maid isn't about to bust in here and save me for another 3 days. Mom? Yeah, right. She flew off to Vegas for who knows how long with that perverted old bastard she calls her next husband. I see the way he looks at me when I walk by, probably wishing I was 2 decades younger so he could have his way with me. Sure, the combining of our money would turn our family. Endless cash flow seals the deal. Sometime in the night, I noticed a car's headlights turning into the main driveway. No one ever came to the front door because I didn't hear any knocking or a ringing doorbell. They just shined for what I imagine was 10 minutes or so and then pulled away. Probably that pizza bitch riding cock stain on my windshield with shoe polish, or some thief breaking in to steal my Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock CD collection. I know I'm reaching, but that's going to piss me off beyond consolation if someone had the audacity to do something like that. Do you know how hard it is to find that stuff now? It's classic to the point no one is willing to part with their copies. Legends! Immortal music legends! Still, that was nowhere near as disturbing as what happened next. Mom's African gray parrot, Lucifer, was in major distress during the early morning hours. At first, it was just his bell ringing unusually in the night because I wasn't around to cover him up. The evil little shit has enough food and water to last him all week long, so I believed him to simply be looking for attention. I haven't so much as walked by that atrocity in a few days, and he's quite the attention slut. My mother just had to have him, though. One more thing for me to tend while she jets around the world entertaining old dicks with wallets. Nope, she just had to have Lucy when she saw him at the mall pet store, no matter how incredible the price tag. Giving that damn thing the full moniker of Lucifer was my idea. Damn bird is the devil. Then the conversations began. What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? I knew there was no one in the house, otherwise they would have flung open the door to see me and what I can only imagine is my rather pitiful-looking wang sprawled across the floor in a huddled mess. I mean, it's been 3 days, and I have zero control over any part of my body. My nose still works, though, and a powerful scent was born around midday yesterday. Context clues lead me to believe I've shitted and pissed myself multiple times since then. There's no way someone could have entered the main house without smelling that and coming to investigate. Pretty Lucy. Pretty Lucy. Goddamn narcissistic bird went on forever to convince itself it was indeed pretty. I guess it is, but do we really need to hear about it all the time? That's all my mother ever tells the thing when she walks by the cage. It's nothing but another possession, positioned to display the family's wealth. Yeah, I'm one to talk, but all my cars, tech, and clothing don't squawk in the middle of the night to remind me how awesome it is. Everyone who darkens our doorstep gets introduced to that bird long before they're even aware of my existence. Yeah, I'm almost 30 and shouldn't concern myself with such nonsense, but Mom loves that bird and cat more than she ever loved me. The maid reminds me of that fact every chance she gets to stoke my hate toward my parents. It works. They just shut you in the back of the house and expected me to raise you, she'd confess weakly. If that's the case, I'm going to raise you to be my little asshole. She was hot for a lady who was 20 years older than me. We were one hell of a team, though, stealing money from Mom's purse when no one was looking and spending it all on toys and movies from the sex store on that lonely stretch of interstate outside of town. She was my first lay, and those lessons continued throughout my teens. She taught me everything I needed to know, including several things that should remain a secret to impressionable young boys. Best of all, she taught me how not to get caught. Anyway, that fucking bird balked on into my peaceful, paralyzed night, asking invisible visitors what they were doing and bringing to their attention how incredibly fucking pretty she was. Then Lucy squawked a name. "What you doing, Fluffy?" One more sip of tea. I don't mean one more as this will be the last one. I mean, it's just one more for now. Day 4. I can't blame the sunlight for bringing what's left of my existence. Got a little tongue-tied there. I can't blame the sunlight for bringing what's left of my existence into focus today. It was that goddamn cat. The overpriced, gaudy bird cage my mother insisted on purchasing came crashing down to the floor and sounded like a freight train meeting a brick wall. The bird didn't scream for long, but it was enough to be disturbing. Fluffy is now the apex predator of the house since I'm officially out of commission. If she's broken into the bird cage, it only means she's exhausted her own food supply as well as the tropical fish in the living room aquarium. I wonder how long that furry piece of shit will survive now that all the easy food has been consumed. I can imagine her box is a turd-filled nightmare as well. Part of me is glad I decided to get ready for that date in my mother's main quarters rather than the back of the pool house. No one ever comes to the pool house unless I take them there. Never. It's a jumbled mess of spanked napkins and empty food containers. Sometimes there's a few piss bottles left laying around for variety next to the various video game consoles and porn stacks. It's the room I always wanted as a child, but never really allowed to have because the maid kept cleaning it up. Then she'd tell my mom all about the masturbating she suspected, and I'd get a bitchy smirk at dinner. She's lucky she never inspected the place with a black light. Would have resembled the most wicked Law and Order episode ever televised. Unfortunately, my bad timing guaranteed no one would find me in the main house either. For flashing lights to arrive, someone needs to care for you enough to bring the misfortunates to their attention. For a friend to find you, you must have some. I've had a few of those over the years, but not many. It all depends on your definition of friend. I've chased them all away in one way or another, but that's a good thing for everyone involved. Less people to pay for silence when the corpses are discovered out at the ranch. Mommy would never let that happen, though. She's on top of things, especially the protection of our family name. In the end, that's all that matters. I can see that furry little paw reaching up under the door as though the lunatic believes she can successfully operate it while latched properly. Granted, things are incredibly blurry now from not blinking for 4 days, but I can see a little splash of colorful fur against the white paint of the door. She curls her claws into what was previously believed to be impenetrable wood, leaving visible marks like carved names on the neighborhood kissing tree. Everyone knows what the kissing tree is, right? It's the one tree in every neighborhood where all the boys carve the name of the schoolgirl who makes them pee-pee a little in the middle of the night. I know it's a horrible analogy. Oh no, I've totally screwed that up. I'm sorry, people. It's that one tree in every neighborhood where all the boys carve the name of the schoolgirl who makes their pee-pee jump in the middle of the night. I know it's a horrible analogy, kissing trees and cat claws, but it's the best I can do right now. I'm not a damn writer, and I've been dying on the floor for over 72 hours. If I discover a way to live through this fiasco, perhaps I'll give up on mastering analogies altogether. Anyway, the cat is trying to get in the room with me, and I can't imagine why. I know her feline senses can pick up on the obvious smells of urine and feces I've been stewing in for days, marinating in my own juices, so to speak. You'd think that would be enough to send her away. But she just keeps trying and trying. I admire her moxie, I truly do, but she's wasting her time. Fluffy can claw at that door all day long, and it's not opening. Silly cat. What does she even want from me? Treats? Pets? For me to clean her poop box? I can't do any of those things, you idiot, because I'm paralyzed on the floor. You've eaten your food, the fish, and the bird. Go curl up somewhere and die so we can add more fuel to the nightmare my mother will eventually discover inside her once majestic home. Dead pets, dead son, and a browser history full of torture porn on all the family devices. Man, technology sure makes it convenient to fire one off nowadays. I weep for generations gone by, having to fumble through their dad's cryptic VHS collection, only to discover poorly maintained 70s pubic jungles. Sometimes the unfortunate lads found poorly made films of their mom and the neighbor. Then the imaginary brain eraser gets invented quickly. God bless the internet and all the smut that comes along with it. Suddenly, my still functioning ears recognize the stealthy click of the master bedroom door, and it creaks open for a fraction of a second. This means I'm going to spend my final moments on Earth with a needy cat meowing at nothing and strategically flashing me its butthole. Isn't this penance enough, God? One of the richest families in town is going to be splashed all over the nightly news because their heir to the fortune was found unexplainably slumped over on the floor while bathing in a sea of his own waste. All the while, the family cat was saturating her fur in liquefied fecal matter and purring loudly to a man too far gone to pay her any attention. A waste of time on everyone's part, to be sure. But man, the help will sure get a kick out of it. They'll all probably say I deserved it and that it couldn't have happened to a more deserving douchebag. If they all only knew the fate I truly deserve. They will. One day. Just a second. Can you believe someone read this professionally for an audiobook? Day 5. My near-useless vision only catches glimpses of the irreparable damage. Again, I feel nothing at all, but what I can see and hear is enough to drive anyone to suicide. If only my body responded to my brain's wishes, I could dig my mother's Saturday night special out of her underwear drawer and put an end to all this. I'd have to sift through washed yet still crusted panties and a couple of sex toys clinging to remnants of her older generation stylings, but it would be worth it in the end. A sudden thunderstorm rolled through town in the night, straining the limits of our infamous Texas power grid. All lights in the neighborhood, which were linked to timers, ceased to illuminate my surroundings, leaving random strikes of lightning as my only portal. I can still hear Fluffy enjoying the fattiest bits of me as though she's some type of sadistic, starved prisoner in a dungeon containing few choices. Pardon me. Whew. Here we go. I see she's torn my penis to shreds as the celestial light show fades to black once more. Of course the little demon chose to devour the most savory morsel first, and the sound of her smacking mouth does little for my hopes of ever returning to a normal life. Imagine the world's most etiquette dumb child smacking on a mouthful of bubble gum while simultaneously deep-throating a boom mic. Yes, that is the horror currently being fed to my ears. Moistened horror torn to unidentifiable morsels inside the mouth of a hungry cat. She cares little of its significance. She only knows that it's meaty, salty, and easy to chew. It'll be buried in a mound of unsanitary litter by this time tomorrow. Another flash of lightning filters through the bedroom curtains, showing my manhood in shambles and scattered at my useless feet. I can hear her paws spatter through the unseen blood pools as she makes her way back into the main house, still clutching the puckered head of my cock in her satiated mouth. Her hunger begs no more due to the convenient meal I've left exposed from days-old misfortune. The jingling of the birdcage bells signals she's preserving what's left of me and the African grey for future sustenance, if necessary. How insulting to know my most important of bodily features could be mistaken for a feather-raped hunk of bird meat. In the end, I guess it all truly tastes like chicken. That wasn't just a clever blanket statement invented by culinary morons. My mind spends its final functions wrapped in sorrow. I know exactly what I did to deserve this, although I never imagined my punishment would play out this way. I daydreamed often of jail cells, trials, and discoveries on the evening news, accompanied by warnings of content too graphic for children of the average viewer. No, only the sickest of the sick would want to see what I'd hidden in freezers, bodies of water, and shallow graves throughout the family's country estate. My own private cemetery of failure would claim headlines, embarrassing future generations for decades to come. In death, I shall be the legend I once longed for in life. My name will be whispered in infamy. Sometimes a story doesn't contain a hero, and you're forced to cheer on whoever is the least villainous. My life was one of those types of stories. In the end, I guess Fluffy wins. And now the story changes point of view. If there were anything more difficult than suddenly learning the ins and outs of living as a cat, it was coating my teeth with blowfish and not swallowing for several minutes. I knew I'd smelled fugu occasionally pouring from the Japanese restaurant down the street, but finding the deadly pieces that they carelessly discard without the use of opposable thumbs was a victorious marathon of luck. It was nice for something to go right for a change. 5 days is a long time for a man to die alone. As for me, I struggled for 3 myself. Enduring the effects of the leftover poison, my stomach cramped endlessly as I flushed my system with water from the fish aquarium. I did so until it induced vomiting and then sent it all through again by way of the filtration system. The pet fish didn't survive the process. To be honest, I didn't think the cat's body was going to make it either, and I'd be forced to wander this neighborhood as a spiritual hitchhiker until another suitable body became available. Another cat, preferably, since entering the bodies of humans is off the table. I don't make the rules, and I'm not sure who does. God, maybe. Could be Satan for all I know, although he'd probably insist on using dogs instead. I believe cats to be the more heavenly species if there is such a thing. Fascinating creatures, cats. I always question the existence of the afterlife, but I never imagined it would be like this. I came to be while facing my own decaying corpse at the bottom of my murderer's family pond. There's nothing more horrifying than seeing your own lifeless eyes staring into nothingness. After that, the hardest part is coming to grips with the fact you no longer have a body. There's no need to breathe, eat, or feel anymore. You're just wandering the world you left behind, oblivious to times and dates, and searching the purpose and what you pray is a short-lived bout of eternity. The only spirits who call this phase limbo are the ones who've never witnessed hell firsthand. Glimpses were only shown to me in visions, which made me thankful to walk this cursed planet for just a bit longer, at least until I'd gotten my revenge. Heaven, if there is such a place, has little room for vengeful harlots on the rebound. It was so sloppy and impromptu, in my opinion, leading me to believe I was the first person he'd ever killed. He orgasmed out of fear in mere seconds rather than satisfying his childlike wonder with my dying body. No, he wouldn't get experimental or brave until the next go-around, and I was too weak and inexperienced of a spirit at the time to intervene. All I could do was watch the all-too-familiar torture playing out as life drained from another girl's eyes, and then another. My true purpose was born from necessity at that point, hopping from life form to life form until I found one worthy of secretly hitchhiking to my target city home. At first, I preyed on the mother's weakness and with helpless eyes, gaining access to chance and hopes my full purpose of remaining terrestrial would come to fruition. I lulled my human predator turned sudden prey into a false sense of security and struck when he least expected it. A simple bite of my temporarily toxic teeth was enough to strike him down. I just never imagined it would take 4 more days for the man to die. Perhaps longer if I hadn't feasted upon the flesh of his exposed genitals. I allowed him to suffer for an extended amount of time like I did below the frigid waters of his family's homestead pond. Noticing the carnality of his hobby was increasing in frequency, I practiced all aspects of theoretical spirituality until it became second nature. I was accepted as the family cat in no time, stealthing my true purpose behind purrs and belly rubs. Oh, how I longed for that exact moment when I'd devour his singular trophy used to violate my lifeless corpse in death. Simultaneous lights have now encompassed the master bedroom of the mansion. One possibly bears passage to the great beyond, signaling to my soul that true rest is finally within reach. The other from an arriving car, the obvious return of my killer's mother from her vacation. She and her mate will discover a scene fouler than any they helped cover up by the way of their family fortune or friends in high places. The worst thing is how badly I feel blaming this all on the family pet. Fluffy was a good cat. Or at least that's how I portrayed her to be. She lived a rather comfortable lifestyle regardless of the demonic owners who provided the necessities for her continued pampered well-being. At least she won't be going to the gas chamber on an empty stomach. For my enemy's true weapon finally provided the only satisfaction of which it was capable. Goodbye, Fluffy, you naughty, naughty feline. Thanks for everything. All right. And that is it. That was Fluffy. You can get that short story and more in my collection, Haunted Spaghetti, because creepypasta sounds stupid. You can get it on Amazon. It's on Kindle. It's in paperback. Or you can get it directly from me at revdarecloud.com. I will sign it and send it on its way in the same day. You guys preach truth, toke jokes, and shoplift Amazon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, or subscribe to the website as well. I do a lot of writing there, poetry and blogs and such. So, anyway, I'll hop back on here next week and give you something else. Love you guys. You mean the world to me.